Hi guys, so this is going to be a very fun build. So this is going to be an Amazon Connect series and a playlist that we are going to work on. So this came by as a result of a request from one of my subscribers, right? I think wanted to see how we build an Amazon Connect project end to end. So in this series of videos, probably about 13 or 14 or 10 videos, yeah, we are going to go over it, learn some of the Amazon Connect skills. If you are new here, we have an Amazon Connect playlist, right? That helps train people to become CS or contact center engineers to build contact center solutions on Amazon Connect. So as part of that, we have a couple of end-to-end tutorials already on the channel that you can check them out. And then I'm proceeding to work on this series. And I just want you guys to be involved as I build the entire thing. So I was planning it out and I'm like, oh, this time around, let me just do virtually everything on camera. And then we will see and then adjust stuff as things go. So this is not really well planned, as in not well structured the way you regularly see some of our Amazon Connect series tutorials that I go through some of the things. But again, this is going to be really a bit live. I have some of the things, names already picked up and all that. But you are going to see some of the decisions and then I'll do my best to explain most of the things on the camera. Kindly, if you are new here, please, this is what we do on Tech with Kwabena. Our goal is to help people become cloud engineers. So we do AWS hands-on tutorials, we explain concepts, we do a whole range of stuff. And we really appreciate your like and your support, your comments. So if you're new here and then you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly give us a subscribe, drop a comment, and then if you are going to build this series with us, start by dropping a comment in there that you are part on this journey. Doing that motivates us that indeed there are people who actually find this valuable and there are people who are actually watching and then yeah, making use of the things that we talk about. Thank you so much, and then I'll just get right into it. So yeah, so I have this very simple outline that as it stands now, this is what I have that we are pretty much going to work with. But knowing myself, I'm sure by the time we finish, this is going to improve or probably going to be something completely different as we are in the flow, right? So as it stands now, we have about 13 episodes, and then this was supposed to be recorded last. But as I said, because I'm doing it on camera, things are going to change. So we are going to start from a point where you are going to build everything. In here, you are going to learn how to work with, build your contact flows. We are going to do some Lambda integrations. I'll try and then simulate a third-party application. That's a third-party integration where we are going to have a platform where you are going to be making API requests and API calls. That in itself came as a request from, again, another subscriber of mine who wanted to see how those things are done and if they are possible. We will do some integration with SES and SNS. Again, we are going to use the traditional SES and SNS approach. And then also we will fall back on the inbuilt Amazon Connect email feature, right? To see how those things do work. We will work with multiple channels. We will try chat, we will do email, voice, and then as we go, if there are need to add SMS and all that, we will proceed to add all those channels to it. We will talk about how to do outbound configurations. And then this is going to be a fun ride. At the end, we are going to integrate Lex also, do a bit of AI agent stuff at the very beginning, do Amazon Q in Connect integration. And then I'll end by walking us through reporting and recording and things like that. So yeah, so we are in for a fun ride. So we are just pretty much going to get started with our contact center build. So I'm in Amazon Connect. If you are new and they don't have the Amazon Connect instance, I have a video on the channel that shows you how to create your Amazon Connect instance. If you want, you can check out our playlist and then you can come and watch this one after, or however you want to go. We just have the Amazon Connect instance, log in, and then let's get right into it. So what we are going to build is going to be pretty much more like an e-commerce application or e-commerce contact center solution, right? And then we are going to iterate over that. Now, for the e-commerce contact center solution, once you are building any contact center, there are a couple of things that you have to first understand or have in mind, right? One of the key things you always have to have in mind is that any call center that we are going to build is one or the other going to have an hours of operation. Again, most of the terms that I'm going to discuss in here have been pre-discussed in our main Amazon Connect series. If you are here to check that out, that's fine. I'll do my best to explain some of them, but so that we keep our videos in range, I'll try and then summarize them. So our contact center needs and hours of operation. When we talk about hours of operation, it pretty much tells us the time in which our contact center is live, right? So we define whether our call center works from Monday through Friday or whatever days you want our contact center to work. This is one of the key things that we define when you are building your contact center. So I'm going to first start by creating our hours of operation for our contact center. By the way, our contact center is going to be called ShopEasy. So I'll quickly just jump right into it and create the hours of operation. So I'm going to add new hours of operation. Those of you that have been working with us, you realize that the interface keeps on changing. That's why sometimes I want to repeat some of the videos so that you see the latest update and all. So now I'm going to give this a name, hours of operation a name. So I will call it ShopEasy business hours. So these are hours of operation. I'll just leave it, give this the same description as the same name. And then the days that I want it to work. So as it stands now, I have every day from 9 a.m. through this. And then the time zone, I'm going to select Africa Accra. So depending on your time zone, you can select that and then that will be fine. I will do that. Now there are features in here where you'll be to add our holidays. We are able to do certain overrides to our calendars, add emergencies and all that. Those are fun and then nice upgrade that are into connect now. As we proceed with the series and projects, I'm sure I will come up with use cases for that and then we will insert that. But as it stands now, that's all that we need now. Our hours of operation. I'll click on save. And then our hours of operation is ready. So our call center kind of works Monday through to Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. So we have our hours of operation created. The next thing we are going to do is to create something we call queues. So as part of the contact flow or contact center we are going to be on, when someone tries to reach a contact center, right, and then they place a phone call or they reach out to them, for them to be able to be connected to an agent, they are placed in something called queues in Connect. So queues pretty much are more like the waiting area that they are going to wait as they are waiting to be connected to the agent. So what we are going to do is that as it stands now, I have a number of queues that I plan on using. That's a number of waiting areas. Once we go into our contact flow, you see, and then you see how we're going to use them. So to create a queue, so I'll just click on queue, and then I'll give my queue a name. So for now, I have 3 queues. The first is going to be my general support queue. And then if you have a queue, one of the crucial bits is that the queue requires an hours of operation. So I'm going to select the hours of operation that we created. And then down here, for now, I can leave these things as default. But I'm just going to explain it so that those that are new to this will understand. So there is something in Connect called outbound like caller configuration. What it means is this: for every contact center, there are 2 pretty much things that you can do. It's either you are doing an inbound configuration. When we say inbound configuration, it's pretty much things coming into the contact center, or an outbound configuration, which means things leaving your contact center. So there are 2 ways. Either people phone in, either people try to reach us into our contact center, that is, they are coming in into our contact center, or we rather leave or contact people from our contact center, right? So for us to be able to configure that, allowing things to leave from our contact center to our customers, that is the outbound configuration. So to allow your queue to do that, you need to configure that. Again, as part of the flow, we are going to come back to this outbound configuration and then we'll understand. For now, I'm going to leave it as it is and then we'll proceed. So that's a quick explanation to that. So now my queue, first queue is ready. I'm going to create my second queue. I'm just going to be fast with that. Then I'll have a callback feature as part of the contact center. And then I will save it. So yeah, guys, if you are pleased new year, kindly don't forget to give us the subscribe and then drop the comments. We really, really need that. Okay. So now our 3 queues are done. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something we call routing profiles. Routing profiles. So I'm going to create a routing profile for this use case. Or let me create a security profile first before a routing profile. Now, in any contact center, right, we have permissions. So when you have a contact center, or anytime you are building a contact center, those looking to become actual contact center engineers, anybody in the contact center or everyone in the contact center don't have the same permissions. There are some that are agents, we have some that are supervisors, we have some that are just QA testers, we have some that are administrators, and whatever permission set you want to give them. In Amazon Connect, we manage those things through security profiles. So security profiles is when we define these permissions. So in Amazon Connect, by default, we have a couple of them. That is QA, contact center manager, agents, and all that. This defines the permissions that the person can use or person can do. So for example, if I open the admin, you can see that in Connect, admin permission has pretty much all access, right? So they can pretty much do virtually everything in there. If I don't want admins to be able to do something, all that I'll have to do is to come in here and then uncheck that. So say in my contact center, I don't want admins to be able to delete routing profiles. I come and uncheck this, then I save, right? So depending on what you are building, depending on the permission set that you want, you enable that, then you make progress going forward. So I'm just going to rely on the default security profiles, then we proceed. The next thing I'm going to build then is going to be a routing profile. Now, I created queues, and I said in Connect, queues are the waiting area or the waiting rooms, right? What a routing profile does is it kind of directs how agents receives contact through these queues. If you look at the name routing profile, so routing profile just tells who is receiving what. So in a contact center like what we are trying to build, where we created 3 queues, we need more like a decision tree. We need something that will tell who should receive which calls. We created a general support queue, we created a returns queue, and then we created our callback queues. In contact centers, there are certain contact centers that will say, oh, I want my agents to be able to answer stuff or accept contacts coming in from each of the queues or all the queues. Or I want to have dedicated routing profiles. I want to have dedicated groupings of these queues so that people would accept their contacts coming in from. So all I'm going to do is to create a routing profile for our use case. So I'll click on create new routing profile. And then I'm going to call the first one tier 1 agent. You can give it whatever name you want. And then in the routing profile, as I said, it tells or defines what you do. I'm first going to enable the channels that I want to work with this. So the first one is I'm going to enable all the channels. And what I'm going to do is I have the room. If I want people to be able to do cross channels, right? Say I'm on a call, but I still want to be able to accept chats. I have the room to do that. So I'm going to allow all this for my routing profile. And then now, inside the routing profile, again, those watching this, you realize the interface has changed again. This is my first time seeing this new interface in routing profile. What I can do is to add my queues. So I'm going to add my queues. The first thing is to add my general support. So for the tier 1 support, I want my general support queue to be in there. It should work with chat, email, and text, all the 4 channels that I have now. And then in this routing profile, I want the general support queue to be priority 1. When contacts come in, I don't want any delay. And then I'm going to leave it as it is for now. Another thing I could have done was to add a different queue to this, but for this case, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to assign any agent to this routing profile at this moment, but again, we are going to do that as we proceed in the series. I'm sorry, we need a description here. Let me just give it the same name as description. Okay, sorry, I missed this one too. That's why I wanted to build this thing so that you guys see. Now, this is default outbound queue. When we talk about a default outbound queue, every routing profile, right, as we said, need the ability to initiate a contact or something out of this contact center. And then if it's leaving your contact center, anytime something is leaving your contact center, you will realize that it goes through a queue that you specify. So for example, you have agent Kobina, and then agent Kobina wants to contact someone outside the contact center. What agent Kobina needs is one, a routing profile. And that routing profile will have something that is an outbound queue. So if I'm contacting someone outside the contact center, it will go into the outbound queue and then use that outbound phone number configuration I talked about earlier, so that you'll be able to leave, or the contact will be able to leave that contact center solution. So that is something that we have to have in mind. So I'm just going to select my general support as my outbound queue. So once anything outbound is happening in this routing profile, it will work with the configuration that we have in the queue, right? So now I have my routing profile, the first one, and I'm going to create a second one. Just give it a fine description. Again, this one I'm going to enable virtually all the channels too. For this, the first queue I'm going to add in here is going to be the returns. We created 3, right? Returns. Returns is going to be priority 1 for all channel. Then I'll add another queue, the general support. Just that this time around, this general support is going to be priority 2. And in fact, I'm going to do something fancy in here. For the general support priority 2, I don't want people in this routing profile to be accepting calls. What they can do is to probably respond to emails and chats. So if a phone call comes through this queue, these people won't be able to accept it because their routing profile doesn't allow voice. You see the configurations that I'm doing here. And then for this, with the outbound configuration, I'm going to use the returns outbound configuration. So this for now. And then in fact, I want to add a delay here, about 5 seconds, so that when staff comes in through this, first go to the basic routing profile. If you want to come in here, delay before it comes in. Okay. Yeah, guys, so I will try so that the video doesn't become too lengthy. Yeah, once I start working and building stuff like this, I just get the ideas and then I want to probably iterate over it. But I want you guys to really appreciate some of the things you can do in Connect. That's why I want us to go through this approach. I could have just done a recording and then we will see it one way or the other. Okay, now that our routing profiles are ready, the next thing we are going to do is to create our agents or add our users, our agents, to our contact center. So what I'm going to do is to come in here, users, and then I'll add them. As stands now, I have about 3 users. So I'm just going to create first one for this demo purposes. So I'm going to call again Kobina shop The surname is going to be ShopEasy. And login is going to be Kobina ShopEasy. Okay, ShopEasy. Okay, email address. This should be fine. Then I'm going to set my password. Good. Now, I'm going to then select the security profile that I talked about. So the security profile is the permission. I want Kobina ShopEasy to be an administrator. And then I want Kobina ShopEasy to have the tier 1 agent. So that's routing profile. Now, contact handling. I can enable auto accept for all these, and then I can add after contact work to it. After contact work pretty much means after the call ends, right? Or after a contact ends, being call, chat, or anything, the number of times it takes, seconds it takes before the agent can close that contact. I'm just going to leave everything as default for now, and then I'll just click on save. So this is my first user. Kobina ShopEasy. Yeah, so I'm going to just leave one user for now, and then if need be, we just add a new one. So these are agents. Or let me add another one. Say Sagari ShopEasy. Let me give this one the same security profile, and then the second routing profile. Leave everything as default, then save it. So our agent for our contact center is ready. Everything is configured. We have our agents, we have our routing profiles, we have our queues, we have our hours of operation for our contact center, and then we are good to go. So in the next video, what we are going to do is to start building our actual contact center experience that will allow people to place in phone call, test their chat, do whatever they want to do. Then we'll be good to go. So this is going to be an interesting one. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Let's go.